Hello, lovely. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Elisa. How are you?
Good. And hi, Eric. I love you, of course.
He says, "Hi, Mom. I love you so much."
All right, great. So let's start out you reintroducing yourself to the peeps and telling us a little bit about you, lovely. Vinod, is
Mhm.
it Vinod? Vinod? How do you pronounce your last name?
Lovely Vinod. Vinod is actually my husband's first name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in India, in South India, Southern India,
Mm-hmm.
we post marriage, if we want to, if we like to, we can add the name.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's Lovely Vinod.
Yeah.
And for the viewers, I'm a psychic medium, and which is all because of Erik. You know, I started channeling. I learned how to channel everything because of Erik. I found channeling Erik, and slowly I started realizing that I do have gifts, or discovered that, I have gifts, and Erik helped me embrace them. So now officially, I have a website which is thelovelylife.in. So now I'm doing it professionally. It's been around a year that I started doing it.
Great.
So that's what I do. And would you want me to tell the viewers that how I channel, what I do?
Yeah, can you tell how you met Erik first? And then, yes, you can do that. Now, what is your website again? Is
thelovelylife.in.
thelovelylife.in for India. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I found Erik through a YouTube video that Jamie was channeling, and Jamie Butler used to channel Erik. So that was like one of the worst phases of my life. I was in deep depression.
Yeah.
I was feeling all sorts of low emotions, to say so. I was physically getting sick because of depression. It was almost like melancholy, that immense sadness.
Yeah.
And I was suicidal.
Mm.
That was something that I was constantly struggling with. And I had a baby. I had a daughter. Now she's 8. But this was around 2016.
Mm.
So I was trying to find, something that would give me some peace, something that would relieve me of that pain that I was feeling 24/7,
Well,
which was really,
oh,
yeah.
well, do you think that part of that melancholy came from just not being on your spiritual path of what you're doing now?
Yeah, now when I see, I'm thankful for it, because that led me to what I'm doing right now.
Oh,
But when you are going through that,
Oh,
it doesn't make sense. And
horrible.
yeah, you know it, right?
Yeah.
So I was browsing continuously, trying to find, and I always loved everything paranormal. As a child, I was not a gifted child, but I was like those kids. People would say, "Oh, there's a haunted house. Let's go see." So I'll be like, I would love those things.
Yeah.
But there was not much. I mean, it came when I was in college.
Yeah.
So, so I started browsing, and I used to constantly the whole day, and I was not working at that time because I was a young mother. I mean, my child was small.
Yes.
So I couldn't work. So I was browsing any video on self-help, spirituality. At that time, I didn't know there's something called spirituality or spiritual awakening or channeling. So I used to see everything which would, maybe that constant mind chatter would stop for some time. So that's when I find Erik's video one day. And Jamie was channeling, and it was mesmerizing. Every single word that Jamie Butler channeled, what Erik said resonated deeply.
What was the video about? Which video was it? Or do you?
I don't exactly remember, because that day I must have seen maybe 10 videos.
Oh, okay.
There are these suggestions when you see. And I so loved, and I used to read, because I used to have sleepless nights, which was terrible.
Oh.
So I used to watch these videos so that, at least it won't haunt me. So I used to watch until 4 in the morning or something like that. So I watched around 10 or 20 videos that night, and I loved all of that. And it was almost like your friend was talking to you. He is, I don't think anybody who sees his video gets to know how he speaks, the way he's just a goofball, and he's so sweet. I don't think anybody can, keep from falling in love with what he says. Everything resonates. And he makes sense in the first place. He's not like, woo-woo spiritual stuff.
No. He's not one of those, "Welcome, my dear one." No.
I know.
He's
So
did he ever meet you? I mean, prank you or visit you or anything like that?
Not really. Actually, then when I started following the blog, I used to pray every night, okay, Erik, can you prank me? But he never did. Although I saw dragonflies.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and I still have, my page, even my Facebook page, the cover is a dragonfly. It's a huge dragonfly. It's actually a pendant that my sister gave me because she knows what kind of relationship we have with Erik.
Aww.
Yeah, so that's still, it makes me really happy when I find that dragonflies. Other than that, yes, I remember, I'll make it quick. I'll share this prank that he did. I had these headbands with horns, the red ones.
Oh yeah.
That you wear in parties and stuff like that. Yeah, it was actually my daughter's. So I had brought it for some birthday party or something. Then I used to keep it in my cupboard, the wardrobe. So it was actually on the downmost shelf, and it used to be very visible as soon as you open the door.
Yeah.
So it's funny, every time I would open this door, it will be switched on. So that time I'm never thinking, why? Then I'll switch it off because it's battery operated. So there's a small button that you twist. And I'll switch it off and I keep it. Initially, I never even thought. I thought maybe it's getting stuck between the doors or something. Then it happened around 20 times that you have to note it.
That's Erik. Yeah. Thank you. All right.
Yes, and the day I realized maybe it's Erik, I was so happy because you almost feel like, I don't know, I might be childish.
Hey, what about me? Am I chopped liver? Right?
Yeah, it's almost like you get the Oscars. It's that kind of a feeling.
They love me. They really love me, like Sally Field. Hey, so we're talking about relationships, but do you want to quickly tell us how you work as a psychic medium and what are you, Claire?
Yes.
Basically, things like that.
Yeah, so that's how I started. Then I followed him. Then I embraced my gifts. So now I am a medium. I channel for people. I channel their loved ones. I also channel intergalactic beings, all the alien stuff. Yeah, that was another interest that I had.
Yeah.
And one thing that I also do is I channel light language.
Oh, yes. So, like Linda Hack. Yes. That's cool.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Linda Hack was the one, the person who told me that I was actually channeling light language. I had no clue. Okay. So, yeah, it was a year back. So that's something that I do. And I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient. I do automatic writing, and I'm also clairsentient, claircognizant, and this is my channel.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I don't see spirits. I don't see Erik as such, like I am seeing you.
Oh, wow. That is so
but I
cool.
get visuals.
Do you
I
did you have anything happen when you were a child? Did you see dead people or anything? Or
No,
oh,
no, no. That's something that's been a learning for me, because I used to think I can never do these things. I
yeah.
used to feel, looking at Jamie Butler, oh wow, that's so cool. I wish I could
Everybody
do that.
can. Everybody can. Some people it takes a lot longer and a lot more work, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get started, Eric? You want to get started on? Why am I looking over there? On talking about relationships.
Yes, he's rubbing his palms. He's ready.
He does that a lot. Okay. The first thing I want to ask is, how do you pick a good romantic relationship? For example, what do you look for?
He's talking about couples now, like the romantic couples.
Yeah, we'll talk about other relationships too.
Yeah.
We'll start
So
out.
right now he's talking, he says, Mom, it doesn't start as in exactly like a romantic relationship. Okay, so he's saying about how we end up liking somebody as in a romantic couple situation. He's saying we almost are constantly searching for all the missing pieces in us, in
Oh,
others.
wow.
You know?
Interesting.
Yeah, so he's almost giving me like goosebumps. It's all about like heart chakra and what we crave for.
Yes.
That, and it's different in different people. A person who has never experienced that fatherly love might look for a person who is, keeping them safe or has that security, that fatherly kind of love, who got their back.
Yeah. Well, is
And
that
for someone else,
yeah?
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Is that good, or should you be able to find that within yourself? Is that enabling a person, or is that the way it's supposed to happen?
It's not, he says it's not good or bad, Mom. It's
Okay.
how it works.
Ah, I gotcha.
It's how you find, it's how you end up liking a person, because that's your void inside you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how you find people. And yeah, and he's saying that's why all the bane, because sometimes you try to find that and you realize that that's not what you got.
Right. Oh, and then you have to learn. Well, wait a minute, or you should learn. I can't look for these things outside of myself. They're all within me. And so maybe that's a spiritual contract sometime. Like, hey, you hook up with this person,
Yeah.
supposed to treat you very fatherly, didn't work out. So it's like, wait,
Hmm.
I need to father and nurture myself.
Yes, yes, that's when self-love and all those things comes to play.
So how should we? I know how we do usually pick romantic
Mhm.
relationships, but Eric, how should we really pick them? What should we look for? To me, it's like relationships should be those who make you the best, encourage you to become the best version of yourself, and to
Yeah.
let you be you. But what do you say, Eric?
He is saying, as soon as you ask that, Elisa, he's saying it doesn't work when you're trying to find somebody, when you're looking for something outside of you, just like how we were talking about self-love.
Right.
So the key for every relationship, he says, is self-love. It's difficult. He says it's very difficult when you have a traumatic childhood, or growing up you've never been that confident person because you never had that nurturing relationship in your family, so things are messed up, so it's difficult, but the universe works that way, he says. So when you are feeling that abundance in you, you might end up finding some person who might increase that love for yourself, and you again start feeling beautiful and sexy and all those things, the quote unquote love feeling.
Yes.
At the same time, if you are having all the negative thoughts about you, like yeah, you've been betrayed a lot of times, so you end up having that fear. So you end up manifesting the same kind of relationship with friends, or, as your soulmate, to say so, as your husband. That's how it works, he says.
Well, that's
So
true.
what you feel inside is
Yeah,
most important.
that is most important.
Yeah.
You
You had truth. Yeah. No.
uh, sometimes people choose, maybe they come from a very abusive family. The parents were very abusive, and they
Mm-hmm.
will, unfortunately, very often find a partner that they don't realize is abusive, becomes abusive after the honeymoon phase. Uh, it's because I think they're just trying to rewrite the script over and over again until they get it right. They want the story to end well, and it didn't as a child. So they're seeking that in a romantic relationship. That doesn't end up well, et cetera, et cetera. That's because they're looking outside instead of inside.
Yes, exactly. He says, Mom, you gotta get the lesson right. Until you get that, it will keep on coming.
That's true. Well,
You
how about picking a good friendship? Friendships are very important.
He says that's the most easy relationship that you can have, uh, almost in any relationship, as a parent, as a couple, if you're planning to get married, the basic relation should be friendship, because that's like, very easy, he says, and it has a vibe which is fresh, he says,
It is
which
a
is
what that's
easy.
fresh? A
It
what?
has a vibe. It has a vibe, fresh
Oh,
vibe.
vibe. You're like,
Yeah.
y'all get the V's and W's mixed up. He goes, let's go vest today. Or I'm wearing my, like,
Oh, you said vibe, right?
vibe, it's vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Maurice did the same
So,
thing.
oh, so he says, so that vibration makes it easy.
Yeah.
There is no constraint, or there are no rules as such. You just hang out with your friends.
Yeah, and there's
So
expensive, nasty divorces too, right?
oh yeah, hell yeah, he says, and he says there is least amount of fear.
Yeah,
That's the most important thing. That's the least amount of fear. You don't constantly keep thinking, oh, I might lose that friend. You don't do that.
no, not like a partner. It's different. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to lose my husband or my wife, or it's not. There's not as much of an emotional attachment, is it? Is that what it is? And if so, why?
Yeah, and he says even jealousy, it comes, it's there in friendship, but it also comes with all the fear that you have, which might be because of other aspects that has to be taken care of in your life.
Yeah.
Otherwise, even jealousy is not something that is like so strongly coming in like other relationships than, and possessiveness also, he says.
Yes, you don't get that amongst friends so much as you do with romantic partnerships.
Yeah, so he says it's as easy. So when you ask me, he's telling you to this to you. For Mom, if you gotta make a friend, you just go say hi. What's up?
So easy, but maybe that's also it. I mean, friends, I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen, but we feel like there's this one romantic partner for us, and we don't want to lose that. That's all we got. But yeah, a friend says you, it's very sad. There's some grieving, but let's go find some other friends. So maybe that's part of it too. Maybe.
What did you actually ask about friend? I mean, like when you have a friend,
friends, you can always get another friend. As callous as that sounds, you can always, if one.
he's saying,
Yeah, but
saying it is painful.
Partner, it's like you don't want to lose that because that's the one and only.
He's saying, okay, so that the pain involved and trying to get hold of it, not trying to lose it, that comes from your experiences. So that will be there in a friendship as well as a romantic relationship or your partner.
Yeah.
That thing will not be different even if it's a friend. or a romantic partner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's something that, yeah, if you've been betrayed many times, if people always let you down, so that'll be there. You'll be clingy, mom, he says, even if it's a friend or an acquaintance or a romantic partner.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about how to maintain certain relationships. We're going to talk about the boyfriend, girlfriend, or the partner, romantic partner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, friendships, family members, and coworkers. You know, we spend so much time at work, and we spend it around people that I think one of the most important things about a job is whether you get along with the people more than anything else. Yeah. So you want to talk first about the romantic partner, married or unmarried, don't make a difference, how to maintain that, and what the biggest mistakes we make in that arena?
Okay, so now he's not particularly talking about one relationship, Elisa, because he's talking about as soon as you asked that, he was immediately into communication.
Oh,
You know, he was like, you gotta talk. People don't talk. When they have to say things, when they have to express things, they think. When they should be using their mouth, not their heads, is what he's saying.
Yeah, like
And
Erik, feel first and think
yeah.
later. So, and we do it backwards. We make a thought, have that create some emotion, very often.
Yes.
And then that creates shapes a choice of ours. Instead, we should get in tune with our heart, our intuition, get that feeling, create a thought from it, and then make a decision whether it's to say something or not. And this is true, you're right, of any relationship with your coworkers, family members, friends, romantic partner, right? So, and I think one of the things we don't do is we don't listen, number one, and we're afraid to be vulnerable and emotionally honest with ourselves and others. You taught us that. Vulnerability and emotional honesty, right?
Yeah, and he's saying, so true, Mom, that the vulnerability comes in. Mostly people don't express because they feel that, okay, this can lead to an argument.
Or they'll be judged. They'll be judged.
They'll be judged, and they might get to hear more things that might hurt them, which is not something they want to, because they might be already sad or there's already a fight. And he was also talking about the time. I mean, if there's a fight, by every passing hour, it gets worse when you're not speaking. All the assumptions come in, it gets difficult. It gets nasty, he says. So why do you wait?
I know. Well, I think probably should wait a little bit until the huge emotional charge is off, just a little bit till everybody settles down. But you're right, Erik. Just get it right away and do it respectfully. I like the sandwich technique. You know, you're a wonderful husband. It really bothers me when you blah, 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 blah. I sure do like the way you know, good, bad, good. Well, there's no good or bad, but that helps. But everybody should read the book and their workshops on it, nonviolent communication. There's ways you can talk to one another that doesn't make them so defensive. And you know, this whole thing is, I want to be right. No, I want to be right. No, I want to be right. So so it sort of sucks the judgment out of it. I wrote a book called Hearing is Believing, How Words Can Make or Break Our Kids. And it talks about just that, how you can speak to a child. And this book, you can go with any kind of relationship without upsetting them in a way that makes them reflect inside. Well, wow, yeah, I see what you're talking about, you know?
Yeah. He's saying, Elisa, what makes a normal conversation, what turns it into an argument is mostly because everybody is dealing with a lot of pain, you know, from their past lives and all that baggage. Oh, yeah. So most of the times they're not exactly even hearing what is being said.
Oh. So what do you do?
So he's talking about you have to work on your own fears. And he's saying, even if a person has that awareness, okay, maybe I'm not reacting to this situation, or maybe this has a root in something that I experienced, years back, something in childhood. When you get into a similar situation, you become that same child. You become that same person who was maybe crying there, lonely, in such shitty situations. You end up reacting the same way, or maybe worse, because maybe that time you couldn't do that. So he's saying, even if you get to that awareness, okay, maybe should be not reacting this way, because this is not exactly what's happening to me right now. I should not relate it to my past, which is difficult. So if that awareness comes in, it'll be easier, he says, because mostly we are not talking to the point in an argument, right? Whatever the topic is about the fight, we don't just talk about the topic. We talk about all things around it, or even unrelated stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been guilty. Well, I'm much better now. I don't want to create drama because, oh my God, I had so much chaos and pain in my childhood. So I wanted to, just like, if I'm upset with somebody, I just keep it in and keep it in and keep it in. And then I can't take it anymore. I'm gunny sack the shit out of them. But, oh, you did this 10 years ago. You did this yesterday. It's terrible. But hey, I'm human and I'm not that way anymore as much on a rare occasion anyway.
Yeah, he says you can tell that person, when you were saying, maybe it's your husband or anybody else who is making you feel that way. Maybe you can say it. Oh, see, you know what? You made me stand in that situation which had happened. So I was reacting to that situation. So he says it's not necessary that the person will have that kind of intellect, emotional intelligence to always understand, but you can at least try.
Right. And I think it's really important to use I instead of you, because that's so accusatory. It's like, I feel like this when I hear these words.
Yes.
When you say that, I mean, you try to not use you as much as possible. You can't always avoid it, but you want to do everything you can to not make the person defensive, because that's a wall, done, over, next.
Oh yes.
So
and he's also saying that with my husband, I always do that. He might kill me if he sees this video, but I have to mention that I always tell him, don't build that wall. Because now, after so many years, I know, okay, the person is getting to that zone. Now he's not listening. But it takes time. Initially, it hurts. Sometimes we do that. But that's what he's saying. If that awareness comes, at least it's like, one step easier. Yeah.
It would really be good if you have kind of a major situation that you butt heads with, whether it's a coworker, friend, a romantic partner, whatever, family member, that have an objective mediator help translate what's going on. Do you think that's sometimes a good idea? It doesn't have to be like a professional counselor, cha-ching, but I mean, it could be a mutual friend, or I don't know, somebody on the street corner.
Yeah, he's laughing, Elisa, because he's funny because he's sitting. He has this, what is that? The crystal ball.
Oh yeah.
And this woman with long hair, and he's saying he's giving that visual because he's saying sometimes you go to a psychiatrist for some help, and he himself is messed up. So so that's what he's saying. And you go to this person, sometimes it can help, but not necessarily. That person is also aware enough, emotionally intelligent enough, so that can actually sometimes mess the situations too.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess if there is a friend that you feel has a high emotional intelligence,
yes. So if you have that kind of trust, you can do that. Yeah.
Exactly. But it seems like there needs to be like base work done individually too. Like, for example, maybe they all need to know if they had some shit going on in another life. Number one, maybe they both need past life regression. Maybe maybe they don't love themselves, so they could go through like the self workshop that Allie O'Shea has. She has a really good, just look her up, Allie, Allie O'Shea, O apostrophe SHEA. It's really short, it's good, it's very very helpful. Or maybe there could be meditation, that self-love meditation, I don't know. So what do you think? I mean, to get the base well and happy, to get you yourself not fixed, because you're not a problem, but you know what I mean, right?
He says that, just like you said, Mom, it's about I. Who's actually thinking about I or me? It's always like, you did this to me, you made my life bad. I'm why it has to be always me, why people are treating me bad. But there has to be a time when you're thinking about, oh, maybe, I have to work on something. Maybe it's my fear, maybe it's my past. But people don't have time for it. They're so much deep in their pain, and then they go to work, then there's more pain, then they come back, there's kids. So he's almost making me feel breathless. He's like, breathe. People don't breathe enough, Mom, he says.
I know.
When you maybe breathe in between fights.
People turn blue, Erik.
He's laughing and he's saying, Mom, people don't breathe enough. In between fights, if you actually breathe, maybe the wiring will change. You might get some oxygen, and maybe what you're trying to blabber the next moment, maybe you'll use some other words, he said.
Yeah, and I guess maybe also it's because when you're breathing, doing these breathing exercises, that's when you are most in the now,
Yes, he's saying aware. You are aware of your body. You can feel, oh, you're sweaty, you are so in anger, and that's not a good feeling. Everybody knows when they're angry, right?
Yeah, so when you breathe, I guess you're probably also more in touch, since you're in the now, with your feelings, your intuition, right?
Yeah, he's saying intuition would come later on, but at least if you can breathe, you will come back to your own body.
Yeah.
You might feel it intensely, like, okay, I'm angry. Yeah. Mostly people don't realize that they're angry.
Yeah.
Or they're immensely sad, or they're, talking bullshit. That realization, that awareness would come only if you breathe, the same.
And that's why you need to be emotionally honest with yourself too. Like,
Yes.
You really.
Yes.
All right, so to recapitulate, give us a to-do list or whatever. See my to-do list for today, guys. You know how I am. Yeah. Bathe. Better not forget that one.
You strike off the things that you finish?
Yes, yeah. That's so
that must feel so good.
Yes. Taking the cat food right here so that the possums and raccoons don't get it.
You're like my husband. He has so many lists, and I just don't do that.
I have a list of lists. I have my happiness inventory list, everything I'm happy about, including Amazon Prime and Starbucks.
Wow. And that's nice.
Yeah.
That's gratitude, Mom, he says. Yeah. That's gratitude.
Exactly. Gratitude list.
Yeah.
So what can we do? I mean, give us a list of what we as individuals need to work on and how to do it so that we can become better components of any relationship. Like I talked about learning self-love through Allie O'Shea or something else. I mean, there's got to be all sorts of self-help books on that. That's probably a big one. Probably learning nonviolent communication, right? What else?
He's saying, Mom, it's easy when you keep it simple. Like, if I tell somebody, oh, you have to meditate for an hour to, sort your anger issues, it won't work. He might not even maybe Google about meditation, leave aside doing it. So he's saying little
choices. You have to do what resonates for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is talking about simple things like food, like what you do to your children. Okay, so this is something that I have learned, Lisa. So this is me telling now.
Okay.
That fasting, or avoiding all the fatty foods and all those things, it has never worked for me.
Oh, really?
I've always been healthier when I'm active and I'm eating what I'm feeling like eating. And thankfully, I'm not a person who likes like fast food and all the cheese and all that. I do like that sometimes, but I'm like a home food person.
Yeah.
Thankfully. But it doesn't help me when, someone tells me, no, you cannot eat this much fat or this much calories. I end up eating more. I end up feeling more shitty.
Yeah.
I end up becoming, heavier. I feel heavier.
Denser energy.
Not just the weight. So he's talking.
Feels right for you, right?
Yeah, he is saying, so people have to keep things simple. Just be aware, eat when you're hungry. He's talking about how you become, there's a saying, right? Don't, what is it? Don't mind what I said when I was angry or hungry, something.
Right.
Yeah.
Hangry.
So he's
hungry.
Yeah. So he's talking about breakfast. Please eat your breakfast, he says, because morning when you're hungry, then you go to work, so you do all the nasty stuff because your gut is empty, you're more angry. So he's talking about what you do to change your lifestyle, which might help those mood swings. Exactly. Eating healthy, eating on time, staying active, even if it's a walk.
Right.
And communicating.
Yes. So what about making yourself, encouraging self-love by being of service to people, like random acts of kindness, some volunteer stuff, things like that?
He's saying, and he's also quoting, I was watching a video that you had posted recently, a C video, where he was telling you, okay, mom, you have to go for, you were saying about the mani-padis and no, I cannot do, but he was talking about self-care. Mm-hmm. You should feel beautiful, you should do those things. He's saying, if you don't have time for those things, doing things for others won't help. So do that. Then if you have a little more time, you can do those, random acts of kindness. People get confused is what he's saying. People think, oh, I have to donate this.
No.
When they don't have enough money for themselves.
Take care of you first. But for me, taking care of myself is helping others because that makes me feel good. To hell with the people I'm helping. I want to help me. No. It's Ayn Rand's Benevolent Selfishness. It's a really good book. That's okay. So let's go on. All right. So how do you detect a toxic relationship? What are the components of, the toxic relationship?
He's saying you know it in your heart. Who doesn't know that who is bringing the worst out of you?
Yeah.
But if you want to know it in the early stages, I'm asking him.
Yeah, what are the hints?
How do we go about it, Erik? If it's like a fresh relationship.
What are the red flags, I guess I'm saying?
He's doing this. The person is just not listening.
Oh, yeah.
It might not be like toxic, but that person needs some self-work. So it can end up becoming a headache for you, a pain in the neck. So that's, if it's about a random acquaintance or co-workers and things like that, and it, mom, when you're talking to a person who just doesn't listen and keeps on talking, that's the easiest way. And and he's saying there's another thing that maybe they need love. That's why they're like talking. But that's not your business, is what he's saying. You cannot always run around, help everyone that you see on the corner. What else, Erik?
Oh, but it's
Go
an
ahead.
experiment. You know, sometimes the people who are most difficult to love are the ones that do need it the most. And it's a really interesting experiment. I'll tell you an example. I mean, you could change a relationship overnight if you help them feel valued and loved. So one time, oh God, this was a long time ago, I was riding my husband's manual car, and I was on this steep railroad thing waiting for
Mm-hmm.
the light to change, and it got out of gear and it slipped slowly back and tapped the bumper of this guy behind me. Boy, he got out of his car and he was just screaming and yelling and so mad. It did nothing. I mean, it was just barely like touched by a cotton ball. So instead of just reacting the way I could have reacted, I just said, "Oh gosh, I am so sorry. And you must be angry because you're probably on your way to work and all this, and this is all you needed. I really am so sorry." And my God, he changed. I mean, his whole energy melted, and he
Yes.
started apologizing. So, you know, some people just need to be heard and loved and valued, you know? And so you could do this with coworkers, friends, romantic partners, and family
He's
members.
saying, Mom, you made that person feel what he has never felt in his life.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah. Wow.
that
Anyway,
strong it is. He almost showed me like this balloon, which is like all the air goes and it shrinks.
yeah.
So sometimes that, those words, but he's saying, see, Mom, you were aware instead of getting agitated. It was not my fault. You could have think like that. It was not, it's not even much of a damage to his car. Why he has to react? But now you have that awareness that even if it's not your mistake, you didn't do it like knowingly, but somewhere people don't give that benefit of doubt, is what he's saying.
Well, sometimes they don't want to swallow their pride.
Yeah.
One time, Lucas and his sister Michelle, they were smaller. They had a big blow up fight, and each of them went to their room and they were crying. Or no, I don't know. Lucas was crying. I don't know. I can't remember. It doesn't make a difference. And so I said, hey, let's do a cool experiment. Go in there and say, I'm sorry, Michelle. And he said, no, because it's not my, it's her fault. No, just experiment. I'll bet you anything
Mhm.
you're going to be shocked by her response. Just say, I'm sorry that you're feeling upset. So that's not your
Mhm.
fault. He's like, I'm sorry what I did to you. It's like, I'm sorry, Michelle, that you're feeling upset. And he said,
Did he
okay.
do that?
Went there and did it, and all of a sudden it was a huge hug fest. Oh my God.
Oh
It's like
my God.
very powerful moment that, but it
And
takes
he's
balls,
saying,
it takes guts to do that.
yeah.
But it's the worst that can happen, people. We are eternal beings. It's okay.
And sorry to interrupt you, Elisa, but I have to say that he's saying, but everyone doesn't have a smart ass mom like you who made it look like scientific experiment to Lucas.
Yeah, but y'all.
Because if you would have said, oh, you should keep your ego aside and maybe you should be the first, you wouldn't have gone.
No, I know that wouldn't work. God, forget it.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's do a fun experiment. Let's place a bet on things like
So that works.
that with kids, especially. That's fun. All right. How did we get out of a toxic relationship without having to lick our wounds so much afterwards?
Mm-hmm. He's saying it's really difficult. It won't be that easy if it's a relationship like a living in partner, a husband and wife, a spouse.
Oh God, yeah. Somebody you can't
So,
afford.
married couples, it'll be difficult because sometimes it's in your contract, Mom. So until you get the lesson, it's difficult to come out of it. Other than that, he's saying ignoring, if it's like just a co-worker or an acquaintance or your neighbor, ignore and maybe build that wall that's not affecting you.
Personally, in other words, right?
Yes.
Their shit,
Yeah.
not yours. Okay.
He's showing me these tiny ants that crawl up your garden walls. You're not bothered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Treat them like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And also you can do the love experiment, show them love, and maybe even
Yeah.
just send them, visualize love energy going to them. And I've seen people change doing that. Send them pink or green light and just love, and it's just really, you see their energy softening. It's very powerful. So what
He
about,
says it would, yeah, he says it would work if the intent is clear.
oh
You
yeah,
know, there are people who would keep writing you, okay, sending you love and light, but
yeah.
they might be thinking something else, so it
Oh,
doesn't work.
no, you can do
Yeah.
it silently and really send it to them.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I noticed so many people have estranged family members now. I mean, God,
Yeah.
it's in my side of the family too. It's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
what's it all about? And what if you do have a family member that you just, oh God, you just want them out of your life? I mean, they're flesh and blood. Damn.
He's saying if it's that strong harm, so it's obviously firstly in your contract, and it's almost like these men or women are placed in close relationship with you to get that strong lessons, which might sound very, he's like, okay, that's not something that's very happy to know, but that's how it works. If it's a father, if it's a husband, the effect is more, the pain is more.
Yeah.
So the learning will be more, he says.
Yeah. Compared to like a sibling, is that what you're saying? Or
No, he says even if it's a sibling, he says it depends on the strength of a relationship. Like if you have like 8 or 10 siblings living away from you, it doesn't matter. But somebody who is constantly living with you, in contact with you,
yeah,
constantly speaks to you, end up having that nasty stuff happening more with you if that person is always bringing out the worst in you.
oh yeah.
So it's all about, it's contractual in the first place, and he's saying it's because you have to get that strong lesson.
Well, so what about just like cheating and getting the cliff notes and just like doing a between lives regression to find out what
Mhm.
the contract is in the relationship, whatever relationship it is, boss, child, family member, I don't, whatever.
He says you can do that, and then obviously you have, once you realize what it is, you have to communicate. But sometimes that can also go wrong, he says, because the person might feel, okay, I don't buy this, I don't believe in these things. What about all the skeptics?
No,
There are these people.
You don't have to tell them, hey, guess what our spiritual contract is? If the spiritual contract is, wow, I have to learn how to be self-empowered, then you work on being self-empowered, for example.
Yeah, he says it's good if it works well.
Yeah, but I wouldn't tell most people. I mean, it's just, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
What
because he's saying certain people, you just cannot get through certain people because they have this wall like we were talking about. So you keep banging on their door, they won't open,
Yeah. Well,
So that's how it
your
works.
component, you know,
Yes,
your
the
side.
pain will be less.
Okay, before we close, I'm not finished yet, guys. But in case you guys don't have the attention, have a attention span like mine, and shut this down, I want to remind you to check out channelingerik.com with a K, and please like the Facebook page, Channeling Erik. Subscribe and to like this video if you do like it, and even if you don't, just like it. No, I'm kidding. And subscribe to the channel, and don't forget the lovelylife.in. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'll put that as a title page. But all right, so last thing I want to talk about is communication tips. Any more communication tips? Because like you said, that's pretty much key. Besides just each having self-love as
Mm-hmm.
a baseline.
So how to go about communication? How to
give some good tips on communication? Maybe just 3, 4, 5 things. Listen,
okay.
obviously, that's one.
Okay. Some tips, Erik.
Being emotionally honest with yourself and that person. Being okay with being vulnerable. All right, I'm just doing your work for you. But beside those, any others?
Yeah, he's saying using your mind, your head less,
And your heart,
you know,
oh, in your mouth.
because your heart is constantly telling you this comes in between and it gets nasty. So try to work from the heart space, he says, and nobody can stop you from speaking. That's the key. And he's also talking about parenting. When you're raising your child, help them be honest about whatever they feel. You know, when they're angry, just don't say, oh, you cannot be angry. You can maybe say, oh, you can be angry, but not for this thing because you have these things. Maybe you have to explain it to them,
Yeah.
and you have to tell them that it's okay to have these emotions.
Yeah.
So that when they grow up, they don't end up not expressing them.
Right. And I think it's important also. Okay, let me give you an example of something I've done. I've been in an argument like with my husband, and inside I say, God, I think I'm wrong about this, but I keep on going. So sometimes you need to listen to
Yes.
your ego and your pride aside, and just stop and say, you know what, you might be right. Oh, that's so hard to do, but
Yeah.
doable.
He's showing little feet. What the children generally do, they wear shoes of big people.
Mm-hmm.
So try to be in others' shoes, Mom. Trying to do that. That helps. You know, maybe if I would have been in this situation, it would have been like that. Yeah, so that helps, he says.
Anything else on that?
Anything else?
That's a lot.
He's saying, don't waste time thinking, okay, if I would do the first move and this would go wrong. He's saying this does not apply to relationships when you know that person is actually sabotaging you. Okay. And he can go violent. He's not talking about those relationships. But relationships like you have a fight with someone you love and you know, like at the end of the day, you love each other.
Yeah.
And this is just a fight. He is saying this is just a fight. You have to think that. You know that sentence? This is no big life and death situation. And
well, how do you stop the fight? I mean, how do you get out of these fights?
How do you exactly get out of these fights?
I mean, one example. I'm sure there's many ways.
He's saying it's a two-way process.
Yeah.
It has to be, you cannot always do these things like, okay, Mom, now you are in this awareness. Now you are a good communicator. You're working. You have this awareness. But there would be a point when you would give up if the person in front of you is not making an effort.
Yeah.
So it is a two-way process, Mom, but yes, you can at least try to express that this is what I want, this is maybe what I feel. And yes, I do understand, but he's also saying there's a limit to things that you can do in relationships sometimes. So you can try, but rest is like then all the contracts and things come in.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is that people that keep on fighting and just they keep drilling even when they hit oil because they don't feel acknowledged. So sometimes just acknowledging what they're saying, you don't have to agree with it, but just acknowledging what they're saying can put a halt to the fighting, I guess, right?
Yeah, and he's saying, Mom, acknowledgement and validation. People have screwed the meaning because they feel if you have to validate a person, acknowledge a person, you have to agree with them. That's not how it works.
No.
You can maybe think from their perspective, be in their shoes, and tell them, yeah, okay, I understand.
I'm kidding. All right, we only have one more minute.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things that we can do on a positive note here to help each other grow and evolve in any kind of relationship. What are some tips?
He's now talking about, so he expressed his views about communication. Now he's talking about non-verbal communication. physical touch.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's saying that something that is unused or underused, mom.
Yeah.
Hugging. People are not physically, and I have to tell you this, Elisa, I was telling this to my friend Michelle. I was talking this to her that, oh my God, I'm so weird. I almost feel like a person I meet, I feel like hugging them, and which is not common in India. We don't do that. So I end up feeling, especially when the person is a man and I being a woman, but somewhere I feel that oneness. I'm so much into, if I meet a woman, I have to rub the back and do all those things. But he's saying it's good. It should be encouraged from childhood.
Yeah. I remember in front of Kroger, my grocery store, there was the guy, with the Salvation Army ringing the bell, accepting donations around Christmas time. And I put money in there and I said, I'm really grateful for what you're doing. Is it okay if I give you a hug? He said, sure. It's a big old guy. And it's like a hug to him. And he completely changed. And I felt better too. So, and even a smile, but when you see somebody truly looking at their eyes, not looking at their face. So that really helps too. All right.
Yeah, and he's all dressed up in the army outfit, and he's giving you a salute because he's so proud of you. He's saying that's something that you have spoken this in many of your videos, right, Elisa? That you used to make your kids, even when they were big, they sit on your lap and do all those things.
I know. They're real
so good.
They're so popular with these guys. Oh my God.
He says, oh, I would love it even now, Mom. Now more.
Please do.
Yeah.
But I remember when Lucas, his younger brother, he was 17 years old, up in his room. I was downstairs working. And he goes, Mom. I go, what? And he goes, snuggle. So he wanted me to go upstairs and snuggle with him. So, it's okay. All right.
Lovely.
Lovely. This was lovely. And thank you, Erik. I love you so much. And again, the lovely life.
I love you too, Mom.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you so much for this session. Bye-bye, Elisa.